Idealease delivers on our promise of maximizing our customers' uptime, allowing them to meet the needs of their customers and grow their business. Sometimes, customers who are not aware of the proper use of their rented or leased truck may experience dissatisfaction. Delivering on the promise of uptime means communicating with your customer the most efficient and effective way to operate the equipment, so as to ensure their continued success. Modern heavy-duty truck engines must meet increasingly demanding emissions requirements. Therefore, operating a modern engine has changed. This video will offer some tips and new driving techniques to properly operate both Navistar and Cummins-powered heavy-duty trucks.
Emission control components work best when operated within a specific RPM range, traditionally called the sweet spot. The sweet spot on a heavy-duty diesel engine is between 1325 and 1375 RPM for fuel economy. For performance, you can go between 1425 and 1475. Additionally, a driver needs to know the difference between torque and horsepower. Torque is what accelerates the vehicle, gets it away from the stop. Horsepower is what continues to keep the vehicle going down the road. We want to keep the vehicle accelerating in the torque range. The torque range of modern diesel engines has been lowered dramatically from non-emission engines. The torque range now is 1,000 to 1,400 RPM, so you want to be shifting earlier. You don't want to be running the engine up against the governed speed. You want to run it up to about 1,500 RPM, shift, and that'll put you back down into the lower part of the torque range and allow you to accelerate again. That's where your power is, in the lower RPM range. Ascending and descending hills requires different shifting techniques also. Older shifting techniques with older non-emission engines would require you to downshift early, keep the RPMs high before you hit the hill, and use your power at the high end of the RPM range. Newer engines now, because we work at a low RPM, we want you to hit the hill, power up the hill until the engine RPMs start to come down. When the engine RPMs start to come down to 1100 RPM, that's your time to shift, to downshift into a lower gear. What that will do is that will increase your RPMs about 450 RPMs and put you back into the top end of the torque range again, allowing you to continue to pull the hill. Depending on the grade, you may have to downshift several times in order to find the right gear to pull the hill. But don't downshift until you are up the hill and the engine RPMs have come down to that range. Once you get to the top of the hill and you're going to go down the grade, select the proper gear that will give you higher in the RPMs. If you're going to use your engine brake, many engine brakes will work efficiently at 1800 RPM. Get your shift selection into that range and begin your descent down the hill. Should you slow down and need to speed up a little while going down the hill, slight application of the throttle will release the engine brake and allow you to gain speed if you need to gain speed going down the hill. Don't be afraid to lug down the engine. These new emission-controlled engines are designed to run at low engine RPMs. Run them in their sweet spot, and you'll get the most efficiency out of the engines. Additionally, don't be afraid to short shift. Keep the engine RPMs low. Don't run them up at the high RPMs. That's not where your power is any longer. Quality DEF should always be used and never mixed into the diesel tank. If either tank is contaminated with DEF, or if the DEF tank is contaminated with diesel fuel, they will have to be disassembled and completely cleaned out. The components that make up DEF, if added into the diesel tank, can damage engine components and cause $25,000 worth of damage. That isn't covered by a lease. And if either one is contaminated, they would need to be completely disassembled and cleaned out before putting the vehicle back into service. Report any coolant leaks to Idealease as soon as possible. EGR coolers are on these new emission engines and they could leak internally. Any coolant loss, report it to prevent any further engine damage. All diesel engines regenerate to get rid of soot. The engine is constantly regenerating, or it's regenerating on a regular basis, but you might not even know it. The only time you'll know it's regenerating is if any of the lights come on, and they're indicated by the decal that's on the top of the visor. If the engine needs help regenerating, it may illuminate the DPF light on solid. If the DPF light is on solid, help it out by downshifting and getting the exhaust temperature higher. If the soot continues to build and the engine is not getting rid of it fast enough, the DPF light will start flashing. If it starts flashing, you should start looking for a place to pull over and do a park regeneration. If it continues to build and it can't get rid of the soot, then not only will the DPF light stay flashing, the amber warning light will come on, and an audible alert will also tell you that you need to find somewhere to pull over and do a park regeneration. If you can't get pulled over to do a park regeneration, the stop engine light is going to come on and it's going to shut you down because you've overfilled the DPF with soot. The DEF system also has some warning indications here. There's a DEF light that will come on solid if you get low on DEF fluid. If you continue to run and it gets very low, it will start flashing. And if it drops below that level, it will flash, give you an audible alert, and the amber warning light will come on, and your performance will start to be reduced because you have not filled the DEF. If you continue to run that longer than that, the red stop engine light will come on according to federal guidelines and shut the engine down until you refill the DEF tank.
To begin a parked regeneration, first safely pull off the roadway and locate a place to park that is far away from any flammable materials, structures, or vapors where you can park for 20 to 60 minutes. Next, make certain the following 4 conditions are met. Be certain your manual transmission is in neutral and set the parking brake, but leave the engine running. Now, push the parked regeneration switch twice on the right side of the dash. Do not interrupt the parked regen process once it begins. Keep in mind, the pressing of any pedals by the driver while in parked regen will stop this process. A blinking light on the parked regen switch indicates one of the 4 conditions in this step have not been met. Once the parked regeneration process has begun, you'll notice a rise in engine speed. As the speed increases, the engine exhaust temperature will rise, burning off the soot that has accumulated during normal engine operation. You may notice a hot exhaust system temperature light appear on the instrument cluster. This is a normal occurrence and the reason you should never perform a parked regeneration near any flammable substances. Once the process has ended, the DPF light will turn off as the engine speed slows back to idle. If upon ending this parked regeneration, the DPF light continues to remain on, contact your local Idealease immediately. Remember to refer to the dash light guide on the driver's side sun visor for reference. Hopefully, these tips have given you a different understanding of how modern engines affect driving and the increased responsibilities the driver has to help maintain these vehicles. Efficient and responsible driving will benefit everyone. Thank you.